All right, these people were voluntold to help. So everybody, let's give them a big hand. Welcome them to the stage. Pick a chair, pick a chair. All right, so this panel is called Engaging Your Front Line to Increase Your Bottom Line. Does everybody believe you have an opportunity to get our employees to perform at another level and make a little more money? All right, so we got 2 panelists here so far. Is that correct? We just had 2? Okay. These performers, you know, they're so high maintenance. She's probably back in makeup and hair still. Lisa, why don't you go ahead and start and introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. My name's Lisa Paulson. I'm the Executive Director for the Maui Hotel and Lodging Association. We're a trade association with 191 members, and I'm a 25-year resident of Maui, and very happy to be here.
Perfect. Thank you. Danny?
My name is Danny Boren. My dad and I started Skyline Eco Adventures in 2002. We're the first zipline company in the United States. We've since grown to have zipline tours on Kauai, Big Island, and then 2 locations here on Maui. We also do national park tours as well at this point. But I grew up here on Maui. My family moved here in 1985, and so it's been great to be able to start a business that actually allows me to live here with my family.
And our headlining act just showed up here to take center stage, all right? No, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Mikami Svetin. I have been the president of Moloka eDrugs since 2005. I actually manage 3 small businesses on Moloka. I'm just wondering, who here has not been to Moloka? Wow. Okay, so the island has approximately 7,400 people, and we have Moloka eDrugs, which was started by my late grandfather in 1935. I actually moved back in 2005 to mainly manage that business from Seattle. So I was on the mainland for about 4 years, and I decided to relocate my New England-bred husband and my 2 sons to my home island. I also manage an ice cream shop. We have 48 flavors of made in Hawaii ice cream. And I also, because of the property, I also am the person who negotiates all the leases for our tenants.
All right, so we've got 3 business owners up here. For the panel today, we're going to spend about 35 or so minutes. I'm going to let all of them talk about a couple of topics around how they engage their front line to move their bottom line. And then we also want to encourage anybody in the audience to put questions in via the app, and we will get those questions and come to them. This is your time to learn from these 3 people who were graciously voluntold to be up here, okay? So if you have any questions on this, but I'm going to kind of start, I'm going to give them a few of them, and then we'll kind of open it up for questions, all right? So, to the group, how do you all, what are some of the things that you do to get your employees engaged, to really care about your guests, your customers, your clients, and also your profitability?
Well, I think one of the key things for us is finding the right people, and then, you know, for our business in particular, we're an outdoor activity business primarily. So we try to find people that love to be outdoors. Obviously, you don't want to find people that would prefer to be indoors to be guiding your zipline tours. So we find people that want to be outside anyway, and then the goal for us, I think, with all of our staff is just treating our staff really well. If we make them all feel like they're part of the team and they're all contributing to our mission, then it really drives the business. Everyone has ownership in our business by having that vested interest in what we're about and wanting to be outside.
Lisa or Kim, you have anything to add on that?
So Danny and I have that same philosophy, except with hiring, I actually consider it selecting. So I'm always, in the back of my mind, I have a mental list, and I'm constantly recruiting. And so even before, I actually have a little kid, his father's a county of Maui policeman, and whenever he sees me, he's now 3rd grade, but since kindergarten, he's been telling his mom and dad that he's gonna one day work at the ice cream shop that he goes to at least once a week. And so whenever I see this little boy, his name's Jackson, he always, will come and talk story with me. And so, I'm already looking at him at age 8 as possibly working for us in about 8 years, and I'm not kidding. I go and speak to Moloka High students at least 2 to 3 times a year, and it's to give back to our community. I always give a talk to the freshmen. I normally talk to about 50% of the freshmen about jobs, careers, interviewing skills, what employers look for, and it's, I know I'm talking a lot about recruiting and selecting, but it's the foundation of our businesses. And so, if you all have the opportunity to talk to high school students or even Maui college students, it's a way to garner feedback about what they're looking for in employment. But I'm in the back of my mind looking for future employees. And so my youngest son is a freshman at Moloka High, and I'm gonna just embarrass myself right now, but I gave a talk to 20 of the students last week, and I knew, I think, 19 or 18 of the kids because they played baseball with my sons, they're on my son's basketball team, they've done robotics together. And the first thing I did, and most people are shocked. Whenever I talk to the classes, the freshman classes at Moloka High, I go in, I bring a soda box with me, and I tell every single student in that class to turn off their phone and put that cell phone into that box. And I tell them, Auntie Kim is here. I'm here on a Monday, the busiest day of my week, to give you 1 hour of my time, and I expect you to kind of respect that, and I want you all to be off your phones. And so last week, I actually had a kid say, oh, my phone's in my bag. I said, I want it in here right now. And so, I already know, just with that group of 20, there are probably 3 potential candidates that I found just by seeing how they reacted to questions. I always ask the career teacher, I say, Mr. Lichtenstein, I want to make sure that the kids get extra credit if they volunteer, and the kids don't know this, but I know I'm speaking a lot about selection, but it just makes your job a lot easier. And on an island like Moloka, where everyone, I swear, is related to each other, it is really hard to hire and select the right people. Yesterday, I had to let go of a senior at Moloka High for giving her boyfriend ice cream. It sounds really manini or small, that's our term. We call it manini. But the complaint did not come from another employee. Who do you think the complaint came from?
Customer.
A customer came in on Friday of last week and said, Kim, I need to talk to you. And she told me the day, the night, the time. She said it was about 7 o'clock, and she said, I don't come to your ice cream shop as much now, but I just noticed something weird happening. And she told me, my sister paid for it, so of course I went through the receipts, found her sister's name, was able to pinpoint within a minute to the video. And all the employees know there are 4 cameras in that ice cream shop. And sure enough, this employee gave ice cream. And I had to let go of her. And it's hard when, going back to what Mayor Victorino said and what TJ said, relationships. Imagine being in a small community where everyone knows everyone, and I had to let go of someone yesterday. But anyway, I know I'm talking a lot about hiring, but
I'm guessing Kim don't mess around. That's all I know. So I'm not going to mess with Kim at all. Lisa, you being in an association, what are some of the things maybe you provide to business owners to help them solve some of these problems?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of partnerships with the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association, Maui College. We do a lot of certificate programs and trainings. So as an association, we're always pushing out education opportunities for our members to help them be top of mind, especially with technology. And in the hospitality industry, we all know that technology is being seen in every area of that business.
Perfect. One of the audience members, and maybe you can help me with clarify, they said, do you think social media use is a must? As an old person, I would say no, okay? But are you referring to whoever put this question there? Are you talking about allowing employees to do that, or can you clarify that for us so we can answer it? So you're talking about like a way to market your business? I think there's a Google session later today on that, right? Are you Google or no? Yeah, okay. I think, what do you all use social media as a way to market your business? This is really kind of more on the employee side, but while they're here, we'll let them answer that question for you.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, for me, like personally, I actually don't have social media, but for our business, it's super important for us. But we're a tourism business, so for visitors to be able to post photos of themselves and link up to our business profiles and then their friends when they come to Hawaii, it is a pretty critical piece of marketing for our type of business. I think it very much depends on the kind of business you're in, though.
I actually have a key employee at Moloka Drugs who does our Instagram. And so she's, it's a really, there's a formula depending on the business. Some people want to get something every day. For our pharmacy, since a lot of it is just very easy sales, like we'll get some protein powder in, and she'll post a picture and have specific hashtags on it. And when we started our account, she just basically friended everyone that she could that had a connection to our island. But for the ice cream shop and then for our Moloka Drugs Facebook page, I do that myself. And I'll be honest, I've been really neglectful recently. I was at a time, I had a reminder in my calendar every week to make a post. And so I always did it normally about Monday or Tuesday, and I always was active doing a weekly post, and I have not posted probably in 2 or 3 weeks. So I actually spent part of my career in marketing, PR, and advertising, and so the company I worked for in Honolulu actually was the first internet marketing company developed in 1994, and a couple of the people from that firm in Honolulu have their own social media or social media marketing companies. So there are companies out there that do it both. So you could hire someone from Oahu, you could hire someone from Maui, you could hire someone elsewhere, but we're fortunate that we have some people who understand social media on staff. But I'm very selective with who's posting. And sometimes, even with the ice cream shop, I have 11 employees, and they're all ages 17 to 22, 23. And I'll do some kind of promotion, like it's raining, so I'll do some kind of crazy promotion, and I'll tell them all, come on, Snapchat and Instagram this today. And guess what? A lot of times we'll do just as much or more in sales on a rainy day than a regular typical 85-degree day. And I thank those 11 employees for understanding that this keeps them employed. So
right.
it's a hard, I think you kind of have to really have a strategy in place.
There is a lot of, if your business is B2B, there's a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V. Just go on LinkedIn and look up, or YouTube and look up Gary V. If you want to really learn from a business owner's perspective how to use social media in the most effective way and do it organically and internally, I would strongly recommend to check his site out. Now, I have gotten more questions sent in on any panel I've ever done. So kudos to the audience members. About 70% of them are not related to the topic that we're here today, and I don't want to kind of digress off. So if we don't get to your question, there's probably some other, we can talk about it later, but I want to kind of keep them focused on the topic about employee engagement and those kind of things. So keep them coming. One of the good ones that just came in, what are some strategies for moving top frontline employees to entry-level management? Any thoughts on those?
I think for us, we've tried to promote internally as much as possible. So all of our managers, unless they're extremely specialized like accountants or people like that you can't necessarily take out of a zipline guide position, we've basically tried to bring up from entry level. So it's really been coaching. So we try to move, in our business, we try to move people from guiding positions into supervisory positions, which are hourly, and then into management positions, which are salaried positions. But it's really just a lot of shadowing with the people that are filling that role ahead of them, or if that person's departed, then one of us will step in and just coach them day in, day out. We do pretty extensive training. I know we talked about training before, And I completely agree with Kim as far as hiring is absolutely critical. David from Ululani's Shave Ice said to me one time, you can't train people to be nice, so you got to hire nice people. So finding the right people is really critical. But then, of course, in your business, it's really important that you train them well. In our business, safety is crucial. So we do a ton of training. And we try to make sure that we've instilled the safety aspects in particular enough that by the time that they're ready to go out on their own, they really can't get it wrong. But going up into the management level, it's more of a shadowing process, more of a following the supervisors and learning how that process goes and then phasing in as a supervisor, then eventually a manager.
Same
You
with
just
us.
fire them if they don't get promoted, right?
Gosh, oh my gosh, TJ. I agree. I always say, it's kind of funny, I always say you can't train nice. If the person isn't nice, even in the initial interview, I probably won't hire the person. I think it's almost more important to hire the right person than to train. I feel that you can train people. I have a 78-year-old father who's the CEO of our company, and about a year ago, I trained him to text. So it is, if I can train a 78-year-old man who doesn't have email to text, then I think it shows that's anything's possible. We try to hire and promote within. The beauty of having an ice cream shop is we typically will put most of our first-time employees there, and then if we notice the different skill levels, then we'll move them to the front register at our pharmacy, and then if they really work out well there, they move to one of the 2 back registers, and then from there, everyone that's in a managerial or supervisory role at our businesses normally has been there on average at least a couple years. Trying to go back to safety, so you might think pharmacy, maybe it's a paper cut is your workers' comp claim, but what I found out, I'm very fortunate to have been married, to be married to someone who was for many years in construction management. So when I moved home, my husband goes, ask your dad if you guys have a safety plan. No, of course not, no, right? So we put together for our pharmacy and then our ice cream shop a safety plan, worked with our insurance agent, and now we always get a 10% discount on our workers' comp premium. And so even if it's a 1 or 2 person shop and you have yourself and maybe 1 or 2 employees, talk to your insurance agents and see if you can get a discount off of your workers' comp because you have a safety plan in place. I have a monthly safety meeting as part of our staff meeting, and although we're small, my background is mainly retail and hospitality. If you know the Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company, they always have a daily meeting, and we're a small business. We have a daily huddle every single morning before we go live. And so the daily huddle typically is 4 to 5 minutes. We open at 8:45 a.m. and we close at 5:45 p.m. Just something my grandfather started. And so from 8:40 to 8:45, we have this daily huddle. And I'm just going to say engaging employers and customers for business success. I think it's really important to have great relationships with our customers. My philosophy is I feel that my employees are even more important than my customers. And so one of the biggest concerns with our staff is communication. And so what we've done at our small little pharmacy is we've created, I'm going to give you some of the tools we use. So the first was I told you about our huddle. We do the huddle Monday through Friday, 8:40 to 8:45. And if I'm in on Saturdays, which is most Saturdays, I try to do a mini huddle. We're always on a skeleton crew on Saturdays because everyone wants the weekend. We use a tool called Slack. How many of you know what Slack is? So it is unbelievable. We have 18 or 19 people on Slack at any given time. Probably 3 or 4 people are off a day. So we have anywhere from 13 to 14 people every day using Slack, and it's basically on your computer, and it's real life texting. The other thing that I've had to do as a business manager and owner is I've had to put myself in the shoes of the millennials, and I'm very, very fortunate that I have two teenage sons because they teach me a lot every single day. And so one of the sites that we use for our businesses now is a site called When I Work. How many of you know about When I Work? So it's basically an online portal that you can trade shifts. So it's really important for us at the ice cream shop because I have a lot of busy employees that go to UH Maui College, go to UH West Oahu Online, go to Moloka High. I have a student who comes home every break from Kamehameha schools on Oahu. And so When I Work is very inexpensive, but we're able to see what schedules are like a year in advance. So I can already tell the staff, no one can take time off on this week because we've maxed out on the number of people asking for off.
Lisa, does the association have any tools for business owners or members that can help them with development of employees getting promoted to managers?
I can't speak individually for all the hotels, but most of the major hotels have an in-house management trainee program. I could talk a little bit about how we feed some of the workforce into the industry. We work very closely with our high schools here in Maui County. We have 3 academies of hospitality and tourism, and we work with them, introducing them to how accessible and easy it is to get their associates in applied science. And that 2-year degree will get them in the door to most of our hotels and industry-related businesses. So we want to see more homegrown talent. We've got a wealth of talent here in Maui County, and we just want to see them come up through the ranks and make them realize it is very easy and doable to go into the hotels.
Perfect. The one thing I would add for the promoting people, what I see employees that get promoted into supervisory roles struggle with the most is they were one of them, or they were one of us, now you're one of them. And they really need to be taught basic management skills and supervisory skills of how to coach, how to counsel, how to give feedback, and those kind of things. So make sure, and again, most of that stuff you can get online. I make my managers, when my employees, when they're getting ready to get promoted, the first thing they have to read books. I don't care if they listen to audio, whatever. 1,001 ways to make your way, 101 ways to make yourself indispensable at work. That's the first book they have to read before they become a trainer and start certifying everybody else. Then I make them read books like The 1 Minute Manager because they just need to understand basic communication skills from a leadership standpoint, and things like the financial side of your business and those kind of things. Those things you can teach them over time. But you really have to teach them basic supervisory skills first. What I'm going to do, I'm going to ask the panel I'm going to make this more like speed dating because you all have so many questions and they're awesome. And so if we can kind of just give brief, rapid fire answers, because I want to get to as many questions as we can, okay? So just keep them on point and keep them short. That way we can get to everybody's questions. All right, what are some tactics to create a team-focused group mentality atmosphere? And if you don't have anything else, feel free. We can skip you. Don't worry.
We do events throughout the year. We do like a summer barbecue and a Spartan race where our crew, we just pick a trail and we do trail running. And then after it, end with a barbecue. We do company beach cleanups. We try to get as much involvement as possible. Regularly posting community outreach events that people can join up in. So providing opportunities for everyone to get together is what we do.
Lisa?
So we do a lot of charitable, part of our association does a lot of community relations. We partner with environmental groups, and we do a call out to our employees, recently partnering with Pu'ukokui, our watershed, and taking employees up there to show them the importance of protecting our watershed and cleaning up and planting trees. We've partnered with Blue Ina in cleaning up the reef, and we do beach cleanups, and the list goes on. And then I have to do a quick plug. Charity Walk is one of our biggest events that's this weekend. And last year we raised $1.4 million, and that is in huge contribution from our hotel and industry-related employees for the community.
At our family business, we, in terms of teamwork, we always have an annual appreciation dinner. It used to be during Christmas, but it's too busy for everybody. So we've started doing it during Veterans Day weekend. And in terms of the teamwork, we always take a group shot. I hire a local photographer. And then since it's normally around November 9th or 10th, the local photographer also takes family pictures at this event. So everyone gets a digital picture as well as prints. And so I'd say about half of our employees use that photo for their Christmas pictures or cards or on their websites or as their profile page. As in terms of teamwork, we also have an Aloha Friday snack. And so everybody gets a free snack on Friday, milkshakes, Sundays, waffle cones. And then on Saturdays, because no one wants to work on Saturday, we buy lunch for the entire staff. And so as a way of supporting our community, if the Moloka High wrestling team is doing a chicken plate lunch, we'll buy that plate lunch for the entire staff on Saturday. And finally, another way we're trying to increase that teamwork. So we do a Biggest Loser every year. And it's hard when you have an ice cream shop with 48 flavors.
Who's that, your worst employee? You're the biggest loser? No.
And so one of our newest employees, we, putting a plug in for Indeed, we did a national search for a pharmacist, and we ended up hiring someone from Oahu who makes his own paddle boards and fishing boards. And so not only are there cash prizes for the Biggest Loser, but he will make a personal board, either a stand-up paddle board or fisherman's board, for the employee who loses the most body fat percentage over 3 months.
Cool. So I'm going to combine two questions here because it's along these same lines. One, where does cultural competency enter into engagement? And then secondly, any spiffs or fun incentive programs you do, which you've mentioned some already, but are there any more in regards to cultural competency or incentives to help drive engagement further than what you've already addressed?
Well, I can really, for cultural engagement, I can only answer the first part of that question, but we do provide ongoing cultural training at all of our properties, and we're very blessed in that one of our newest properties, the Nanea, actually has a cultural resource center on property staffed 7 days a week with cultural ambassadors. And it's there for the visitor to walk in at any given time, learn more about our culture and our history, and there's always somebody in there to answer their questions. So I'm hoping that this is a trend that has started and will continue, but I think that a lot of people come to visit Maui not only because it's so beautiful, but because they want to have the experience and immerse themselves in our culture.
So for us, we have a full-time cultural advisor on staff. He does training for every one of our staff members. He's also at each of our locations throughout the week. So it's been a really great thing to have him on board the last couple of years with our company. We've had a full-time conservation coordinator on staff for a number of years as well. But really to kind of engage our staff with the host culture, but also with just our company culture of environmentalism. So that's how we do it, is we have active participation from a full-time cultural advisor.
Now, here's a pretty interesting question. If the promised incentives fail to materialize, what should an otherwise satisfied employee do? Which I would think that would never happen with the 3-year company, but what advice would you give if an employee's promised something that doesn't happen?
I think, for incentives, as far as incentives, for us, we do bonuses based upon certain achievements for the business or for the given locations. So if those are hit, then the employees always get the bonuses. So.
I would tell the employee to go find another job. That's what I would do. Okay, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. Here's a couple interesting questions. How do you maintain quality guest or customer experience with high turnover?
Well, at our pharmacy, the average employee's been there for 15 years, so that's not as much of a concern. But looking at high turnover, I actually try to maintain really, really, really good relationships. Even with the people I've had to let go, TJ, I try to maintain really good relationships, and I look at them as our alumni network. And so everyone kind of laughs because I am a boomerang boss, meaning if someone worked for us, decided to move to LA, things didn't work out, comes back and says, Kim, I'm back home, there's a really good chance I'm going to rehire that person because I don't have to go through all of the training and the education of the culture of the companies. But sometimes you have to look at turnover in a positive way. I think we all think, okay, we have to keep this bad employee for a long time, and sometimes that's the reason why we have a 3-month probation at our businesses. Sometimes it doesn't work out with either the employee or the employer. And so look at turnover as sometimes a good thing.
Yeah, I would say we obviously have higher turnover than Kim does. I'd love to have the average tenure be 15 years. I've had a number of people with us for over a decade. But as far as maintaining that quality for the staff as we do have turnover that naturally will occur, again, training I think is a key thing. The non-negotiables, as TJ was talking about, the eye contact, greeting people when they come up, always being positive, not being on your phone around guests, those are critical things. And then those are things that supervisors and managers are watching for as well. And then we really try to let our guides and staff be themselves. That's, if they're able to be themselves and have fun, then the guests generally have a much better time. So allowing them to be themselves as long as they're not being themselves in a rude way.
One of the things I would suggest is if it's possible in your business, and not everybody's it is, but another valuable lesson I learned from an 18-year-old was this kid comes up, he'd worked for us for like 3 years, he goes, "Why do you get to hire everybody?" Pretty bold. I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he says, "Well, you guys don't have to work with them every day. You hire them, and then, I got to work with them every day." And I really thought about what he was saying, and it made a lot of sense to me. And so what we started doing was, if we were ready to proceed with somebody, we would let them do a store tour or a facility tour, your business office, whatever it is, with, in this case, Michael. I let Michael do the tour. Because what was happening was, I'm a 53-year-old man, and when I'm interviewing a 18-year-old, I'm like their dad or the principal. They're very guarded, but when they get to start walking around with another person their age, is this really like this? Is this true? Is he BSing, or what? Is this guy this crazy about this stuff? And it was funny because then the employee would be coming back to, or the applicant would be coming back to us, and Michael would be in the back like this, because at the end of the day, cultural fit is critical. I think too many people hire people because too many businesses hire people, but they don't culturally fit. And I always look at I don't drink coffee. I would never go work at Starbucks because culturally, I'm not going to fit there. All right? And so think about how you can leverage some of those things, because there is high turnover, but if you can do a better job hiring, as the group said here, you can limit your turnover. Danny's in a seasonal business. There's turnover. It's going to happen just naturally. But if we can avoid bringing the losers in, they're not going to drag down the other team. If we have turnover, it will be of the right people. And that'll improve the average performance of your team. It will improve the guest experience and so on. Next question. Classroom training, online training, on-the-job training, all the above. What preferences, or how do you all approach that?
For us, we utilize YouTube sometimes, but truthfully, the best training is on the job by far. And so right now, we're in the middle of trying to get maybe 75% of our staff as nationally certified pharmacy technicians. And so the training we're giving them would cost like $10,000 to $15,000 privately per person. And, you know, like you said, sometimes you just have to risk it. There's a good chance that that employee is going to move on to bigger and better things, but maybe if you treat your employees well, they're going to stay. I've made a lot of mistakes in my career, and I'm constantly learning every day. I'm humbled sometimes by that 18 or 17-year-old employee, and they take, you know, the risk to tell you something that you can do better. So the other thing with training is, if there's an issue that an employee brings up, try to, I hate to say react, but react and try to find a solution immediately.
Anything to add? Go on.
So for us, training is really, it's a mix of everything. We definitely do classroom training, but we also do far more of it out in the field for our actually zipline guide training or for our driver training. We also do environmental and cultural training that we try to engage with reading. We do classroom training, but then we try to get folks out into the outdoors with that to engage with our mission. So every one of the staff members that starts with us, on their first day of that cultural environmental training, they'll go out and do a tree planting event with us. On the second day, we'll go visit cultural sites, and on the third day, we do a beach cleanup. So our whole team kind of, as soon as they're working with guests, they've already planted trees, done beach cleanups, and visited cultural sites, so they kind of get themselves in the right mindset.
Lisa, anything to add?
We embrace all forms of education, but the hotels are really amazing in that they do a lot of face-to-face and in-person. I think those are the most productive trainings, but we all have, you know, food safety courses we have to take, and you literally have a week to get 300 employees certified, so that stuff happens online.
What I would tell you, a friend of mine used to be the director of training for Hard Rock Cafes, and he said, train in the language they dream in. Now, they were all over they were all over the world, so train in the language they dream in, but that also means train in the language, train the way they want to be trained. Some people are visual, some people are auditory, some people are hands-on. Where I see most businesses make the mistake is they just assume the new applicant or the new employee knows too much, and they throw them out there with your customer, your client, your guests, and they're not ready. And I always break it into two. Give them the education first before you let them go out there and do the training. You don't want them to train on the customers, because that's when the customer's paying full price for your product or your service, and if they're getting a subpar experience, they're just damaging your business. I think it's embarrassing when I see somebody with a name tag that says in training. Like, they're just making an excuse like, hey, this person's going to suck, your customer experience is not going to be good, but cut them some slack because they're in training. And I want to go to the manager and say, look, why don't you train them the right way before they come work? Because if I'm going to pay full price, I want the full experience. So just some thoughts there. Great question here. Where do you find applicants or good potential employees?
So for us, we post on all the different sites that you listed up above, but I'd say that probably our biggest source is from employee referrals. So our staff mostly enjoy working for us, I believe, so they oftentimes will bring in friends or cousins or whoever happens to be looking for a job, and it is so hard to find people that when someone recommends a good employee, it's a big benefit for us.
Perfect. Any other thoughts to add?
Employee referrals, we use Indeed. We also use the HireNet Hawaii website, which is part of the Department of Labor for the state of Hawaii. And then, like I said, I just hired a Boomerang employee last month. She was working at Long's drugstore in Pearl City, decided to come back, and hired her within a week or two. So, you know, again, I really think your current employee base, they already know your culture, and why reinvent the wheel? And quite honestly, a lot of people don't read. I mean, they really don't look at the want ads. I don't know if anyone in here has ever gotten a job in a want ad. I've never been successful at want ad jobs, and so a lot of the way when you see an employee at our stores, they came through a current or former employee.
Well, perfect. Well, we're going to kind of call it a panel at that, so can you all please give them all a great big hand? And then we'll be around, so those of you that we didn't get to a few questions, or the ones that are a little bit off topic, but I know they're valuable. You can tell they have a ton of knowledge, and find them on the breaks or in the networking opportunities at lunch. All right, thank you.